We're going live, Wanda.
As soon as he stops chewing.
All right, Wanda, now we're live. I hit the button a little early.
Oh, okay. All right, and good evening, everyone. Okay, we're gonna start here. First of all, I just want to say I hope tonight finds everybody fine. It's really been a nice cold day, but the sun has been shining bright, hasn't it, Mr. O'Brien?
Oh, it's beautiful up here in Loudonville.
Great.
The streets are plowed and salted. It's great up here.
It's just like we never had an inch of snow, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, we're going to get started now. I see that Ms. Lakakis has joined us. So I'll start first by asking the majority council, would you just please take attendance for us?
Yes, Madam Chair. Willingham.
Present.
Peter.
I'm here.
Bergdorf.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Grimm.
Here.
Joyce.
Here.
Lakakis.
Ready.
Mayo.
Here.
And O'Brien.
Here.
All present, Madam Chair.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. We also have the chair of the legislature with us tonight, and that is Andrew Joyce. We thank you for joining us. Let me see, do we have Mr. Langdon is with us tonight. I can't see everybody's, let me go over here. Is that, oh, good evening, Mr. Ricard. And did I get everyone? Yes, I think I mentioned everyone. If I didn't, if there is another member on, please just state your name very quickly so that people know that you have joined the Audit and Finance Committee meeting tonight, January 28th. All right, let's get started. So we have all of our members present. I'm going to start by asking that we get the approval for the previous meeting minutes.
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter.
Second.
I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. So we have a motion and a second. In favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Unanimous. Thank you very much. We're now going to move to number 14 on our meeting agenda. And we're going to hear from Ms. McClave. And number 14 is authorizing a grant application, an agreement with the United States Department of Treasury regarding rental assistance during COVID-19 and amending the 2021 Department of Social Services budget. Ms. McClave? Something wrong?
She just texted me, Madam Chair, maybe having some technical difficulties. We were hoping it was just her video that wasn't working, but I'm going to text her right now and say that it might be some other items. I know this item pretty well. I might be able to answer questions and with Dave Riley, who's also been, yeah, she's going to call in. So I can answer some preliminary questions if folks have some.
All right, so what I'll do then is I'll just move to number 2 because that's easy to just get through, just to give her a few minutes to.
Very good. Yep, she's calling in. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Number 2, would the majority council read number 2, please?
Chair. It's authorizing a one-time amnesty period for reduction of interest charged on delinquent property taxes.
And I believe if I understand, this has been tabled at the request of the sponsor. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Has Ms. McClave joined us yet? Just someone let me know when she is in, okay?
I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. So then we will move on to number 3. I know that the sheriff is with us, so he can begin to talk to us about number 3. You want to read that, Ms. Kennedy?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I believe that we're waiting for the seeker on number 3.
Okay.
And it's going to be and it's to be tabled.
Yes. Okay, but I still just want her to read it so that people know what we're doing. Can you do that, Ms.? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 3 is the amended and restated bond resolution of the County of Albany, New York, authorizing the undertaking of a capital project for the Emergency 911 Communications Center, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $10 million, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $9 million of serial bonds of said county to finance said appropriation.
Okay, Sheriff, this is something that you're asking to be tabled. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're in the middle of doing the seeker. They've got the geotech team out there now trying to do some ground study, and then I think we're good to go.
Okay, great. Mr. Peter,
Yes, Madam Chair. As we were waiting for the seeker, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Second.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I see that Ms. McClave has joined us. Are you ready, Ms. McClave? Can,
She's here. It doesn't seem like audio is working. No, it's not working, Michelle.
okay, I'm going to finish with the sheriff and then we'll come back to her. All right, we'll go on to number 4. I know you look so tired this evening, Sheriff. Number 4, Ms. Kennedy.
Item 4 is amending the 2021 Sheriff's Office budget regarding the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services statewide interoperability communications grant.
So this is 2 years of cumulative grants totaling approximately $1,092,000. With permission of the Comptroller's Office, we'd like to move it back into our 2021 budget. It's 18 and 19 money, and it was initially scrapped, being too old to encumber. But with the work of Chip Dot, they've agreed to put it back in. It's money from the state that is used towards enhancing our 911 services.
All right, are there any questions from anyone?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Mr. Grimm.
Yeah, does this cost anything to the taxpayer, or this is money that's sitting there that never got spent, but we're able to push it back to 21?
No, so what this is, we get grants every year, normally in the area of $1.1 to $1.3 million from New York State to enhance our 911. As I've said many times on this committee and in front of the full body, the state collects roughly $300 million a year, and they kick back roughly $75 million to the counties to fight for it. So this is that $1 million that we're normally allocated. We have pretty much been saving the money to put towards our 911 building in order to save the county tax dollars, the county taxpayers' money. Although it's all globally, it's taxpayer money, but it's money that we wouldn't have to bond.
Okay, thanks, Sheriff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
Craig, are you aware of any counties which have had their allocation cut by the administration for emergency communications in 911?
Not yet, because we're still early in the funding period. This is old money, Paul. This is money that we had since 18 that we've kind of been basically we've been hoarding it to use towards the new building. And obviously we've been slow with the new building. So we've got permission here, and with your permission, we can move forward and put this into our budget for the new building. I'm not aware of anybody being cut. We've asked the state for a lot of guidance in a lot of our programs, but the grants still seem to be coming out. I was at Public Safety earlier tonight with some trench rescue, cybersecurity, explosive. So the grants still seem to be flowing. This is really one of the most important grants that Albany County, as far as public safety get. So I'm hoping that $1 million will be there. Although ultimately, if they do slice it, it's not going to have an effect on our construction. That's why we've kind of keep this old money there to look for a rainy day. But so far, there's nothing to indicate that there'll be a decline.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Peter.
if there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to move this.
I'd like to second the motion.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Chair.
Have a great night, folks.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Good night, Chair.
Madam
I
Chairwoman.
believe that the commissioners arrived.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Can say something so we know we can hear you.
I'm sorry, it's quite a little mess. Trying to use a laptop and it's not working. So hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you very, very well. So I'm just going to have majority council read what for the benefit of all those that are watching tonight, what we're discussing. Can't hear you. There you
Sorry. Item 14 is authorizing a grant application and an agreement with the U.S. Department of Treasury regarding rental assistance during COVID-19 and amending the 2021 Department of Social Services budget.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Ms. McClave.
Yes, we're looking for permission to add a revenue account and line and an appropriation account and line of for $9 million, $61,753.20 into the Department of Social Services budget for 2021. This funding was received after last year's budget was adopted, and we were unaware we were going to receive this funding. So we need to create revenue and appropriation line in our budget for to utilize this funding.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it's okay, there's just a couple questions from a couple members, as well as some constituents that went out on this funding. Obviously, we're very excited and thankful for the county executive's office moving so quickly with this. And I also appreciate them supplying the FAQ list that I think a bunch of us received. So a quick 5 questions, and a couple of them are just confirmations, so I'm not looking for a detailed response per se. It doesn't seem that there's any limit on both rental amounts, how high a rent could be, or necessarily the number of renters that a landlord may have who can submit. Is that correct?
That is our understanding at this point, although Treasury is coming out with additional guidance next week.
Got it. Okay. No, that's fine. That's and I understand this is changing. This is a federal program. So I get there's limited controls that you guys have. One of the other questions we had were one of the things that they said could be used as proof of need is an eviction notice and or a notice of need for eviction. One of the things that a constituent of mine asked was, they've been following the generic rules that evictions are not going to be happening. There's a moratorium. So they hadn't supplied an eviction notice. Would it be possible or can you check if the feds or however this is being, distributed would accept an affirmed statement from the landlord and tenant, both on the amount of rent not paid and the amount in arrears versus an eviction notice?
Yeah, I think the eviction notice is in the regulations or the for the funding. However, I don't know that they won't accept an arrears notice. I assume at this point landlords are sending arrears notices to their tenants, even though there's an eviction moratorium. We expect a lot of these to come in after the eviction moratorium is lifted, although we don't know exactly when that's going to be. But it may be that the Treasury is going to need to have something that mimics an eviction notice.
Okay.
If you don't pay the rent by certain dates, or by the time the eviction notice is lifted, or the eviction moratorium is lifted, then you will face eviction proceedings. It could be that something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Any type of clarification on exactly that, just because I know a lot of landlords who haven't sent that notice, and that would be helpful. And I understand, obviously, this is in flux. Another thing is any type of joint affidavits that can be done. There's been a lot of, conversations about can landlords just apply and this, that, whatever. It seems that there has to be a lot of coordination between both landlords and renters for this to work. and anything we can do to simplify that process so that either landlords can help, or with the knowledge that many renters are dealing with absentee landlords. So to simplify a form where a simple notarized affidavit or something, either for the landlord to submit with the renter's approval or the renter submit with the landlord's approval, it might be something just to think about.
Absolutely.
And again, I understand that
Right.
you're federal regulations, but if you get feedback or you're able to model it, that was also one. And then I just have one last question, Madam Chair, if that's okay. How will applications be submitted, and when do we think they'll start being accepted / the money being released?
We are New York State. You may or may not know this, but New York State OTDA, Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, also received this funding. They received quite a lot of it for the remaining counties in the state.
The under 200.
Probably more for counties under 200 population.
Right.
So those are largely rural counties and smaller populations. They received about $800 million. They don't expect that they're going to spend that in those counties. So they are offering to, after we utilize our funds, that we can tap into the state funds also. So there could potentially be more assistance available through OTDA and in this program. So long story short is New York State is developing an application portal that everyone can use around the state, which would have the same application across the state. And so they're developing that portal. They are, and it's New York State though, they say that they will have the portal up by hopefully March.
And then funding would be and then how is the funding being released? So for example, you apply in March, there's obviously an application, a rolling application process. And then money's released.
I'm sorry, can you just say that question again?
Sure. So there would be the application portal, let's say, from the state, done in March. My guess is this would be a rolling application process. People apply and then gradually selected, with obviously the 50% AMI selected preferably before the 80% AMI. But then there would be some, obviously, distribution of the monies. Do we know from that March to the application to distribution of monies what type of time period we're looking at?
Well, we're hoping it's pretty quick, although we expect there'll be a lot of applications in March. We are still looking at, and we haven't worked this out yet, that Albany County would continue to write the actual checks to the landlords, even though the portal is through New York State. So as soon as it's processed, we can write the checks. So it might be kind of up to us how quickly we can get them out. If New York State can process it through the portal automatically or quickly, then hopefully it won't be too long. Although as a new program and a new portal, I would expect to have some bumps.
Yeah, and just a final note on that, just, as people have to upload certain documents and things of that nature, there's many people who have some internet issues, as well as scanners and things of that nature. I know this is a work in progress, so I just want to keep that in mind. But once again, thank you and thank your office for the quick work on this. I know obviously it's a moving target.
Yep, thank you. And we're actually looking at community partners to help us to walk people through this process and, to help them get onto the portal and make sure that their application is complete. So we're going to be getting some community help, I think, with that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner.
I just want clarification. Go ahead. I just want clarification on what you said as far as, that's a state portal that people will have to go through?
That's the proposal right now.
And is the county paying, or is the state paying? Is the money coming from the county?
No, the state will take care of the whole portal.
Oh, okay. Before I let our
Chairwoman, Chairman, sorry, just to jump in to clarify. So the state would be paying for the whole portal. but there would be a portion of reimbursement for tenants and landlords that would come from the county. And then what the commissioner is saying is that because the state got a significant amount of money, being part of this portal system would allow individuals in the county to access the funds that were given to the state that are for the other places that didn't apply or didn't qualify under the population limits, and open the county residents to access to that portion of funding as well. So it's all going to be apparently integrated, but we wouldn't be paying for the portal, but our 9 million and change would be coming from us. And then anything above and beyond that would hopefully come from the state, or would be coming from their state, as long as we have access to it.
Okay, I'm going to allow Mr. Riley. I see you have a comment, and after Mr. Riley, Mr. Bergdorf, I'm recognizing you, okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one point of clarification. I made this point in the social services meeting as well. In the initial application or request to the legislature, under the justification, the third bullet point says, has a household income at or below 89% of area median income. That should have read 80%. I've already spoken with staff about that. Just want to make sure everybody was aware.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Bergdorf.
Actually, that was one of my questions. Actually, in the documentation that I have, it does say 80%. What is that number? What is 80% of the area median?
Yeah, that question came up the other night, and we'll get back to you, but we think the area median income is around $72,000.
How does that work if you have multiple people living in an apartment, one that makes $60,000 and one that makes $65,000? How do you handle something like that?
Well, I'm assuming if they're both on the lease, then it would be the household income. If it is one individual on the lease, we'd have to look at that and see if it would just be that individual's income or whether it will be a household income.
Well, they talk about it being a household income. At least that's what it says on the thing here. So, many apartments have multiple unrelated tenants living in a unit, and I would hope there would be some way that you could address that. The other thing was, I thought I read somewhere that the payments were going to be made directly to the landlord unless the landlord did not participate, in which case it would be made payable to the tenant. Is that your understanding?
My understanding and impression is they want it to go to the landlord. So there may be a caveat in there as to how you can send it directly to the tenant, but our kind of instructions have been to the landlord or to the utility company, so not directly to the person.
And could you tell us just once again what the limits of the landlord are? Size, big landlords, little landlords, medium-sized landlords, multiple properties. How does that work?
Doesn't matter. It really is related to whether there is a rent. It's for rentals, rent arrears, and related to the COVID epidemic, and either a loss of income, someone on unemployment insurance, a reduction of income, or inability for various reasons not to pay your rent. This is not for mortgages. This is not for public, anyone receiving any other public benefits such as Section 8 or public housing. So it's private landlord-tenant relationships and those that are potentially facing eviction. It's to prevent people from being evicted when the moratorium is lifted.
So it makes no difference whether it's a 3-unit apartment building or the Towers of Colony that has 350 units.
Yeah, hopefully all 350 are not behind in their rent though.
Well, once again, I don't know who is and who isn't, but
Yeah.
folks from larger complexes would be as equal as folks from smaller complexes.
Right, if it's not publicly subsidized in any other way.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to speak to this landlord issue because it looks like this money is for arrears. That is rent that hasn't been paid that for whatever reason, people haven't been able to pay the rent. If the money goes to the renter, that doesn't necessarily mean the money's going to be passed to the landlord. Because the landlord is the person really on the spot here because they can't evict the tenants for the COVID reasons, obviously, but they're not getting the money either. So yet they still have mortgages they have to pay on the property that people are renting them from. So I think it's very important that the back rent goes to the landlords. They're the ones that are due the money. So you can confirm that, then the money is the checks are going to landlords.
Yeah, that is our understanding and the way that we would want to implement the program.
Okay, when you say it's your understanding, that's not necessarily confirmation. They haven't been clear enough to this point. Is that the reason why it's your quote understanding?
In the directives that have come out, it is focused on landlords, so I don't know that there's an option to pay the tenant. I haven't seen the option to actually pay the tenant. But someone may raise that and they may decide, yes, you can pay the tenant. Right now, it looks like it's directly to the landlord.
Excuse me for interrupting, but if you go to your backup material under application process, it says, in general, funds will be paid directly to landlords and utility service providers. If a landlord does not wish to participate, funds may be paid directly to the eligible household. Household and landlord should not submit applications for assistance to the Treasury. So
that's confusing to me, though. What do you mean the landlord doesn't want to participate? What landlord doesn't want to get rent paid to them? That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, gentlemen, I think that's something that's going to have to be decided somewhere along the way, and that information will eventually come from a definite answer, although I would have to agree with Mr. Bergdorf. It looks like it's in black and white. But those gray areas, as far as the relationship between the tenant and the landlord, I think that's something that's going to have to be solved, on a case-by-case basis as those conditions arise. I do have, I'm sorry, Mr. Grimm, are you finished?
Yeah, no, that's really the point I wanted to make. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Now, I just have one question in regards to landlords. Okay, so if we talk about the Colony Towers, and then we talk about the two-family house where the tenant and it is also owner-occupied. Okay, how are we, if it's just the $9 million, how are we ensuring that those landlords that have the two-family house or the three-family house and they're living, in the house and depending upon that rent to, keep their taxes paid and their mortgage paid and so forth, that they're not being, beat out by the Towers of Colony? I'm just using that.
It all depends on who applies, I guess. And we're going to be doing outreach specifically to what we would consider high need areas. So I'm not, it's kind of, I don't know if it'll be a first come, first serve. We're looking at people with those lower incomes first, though. So we're looking at people with below 50% AMI as the first blush, kind of. And those that have been on unemployment due to COVID. So again, this has to be COVID related. So if you were, for instance, I hate to use this maybe as an example, but an elderly person living in senior housing before the epidemic, and nothing has changed for you at all, no income has changed, your rent hasn't changed, and you just didn't pay your rent, that is not what this money is for. This
No,
money
right.
is for if a COVID-related reason why you cannot pay your rent.
So Madam
So if
Chair,
you,
off your comment. Sorry, there's something very important here. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Okay, just, yeah, please, just hold on. Continue, Commissioner.
so I mean, that's kind of how we're approaching this, and we're Department of Social Services. So we are looking for those people that are going to face eviction, and we want to keep people in their housing. Our goal is to prevent homelessness. We don't want a lot of people becoming homeless once the eviction moratorium is lifted. So we're going to be focusing, that's our mission. That's what we're going to be looking for, is to prevent people from getting evicted and becoming homeless. So we'll be digging into who we're seeing, and again, that 50% below AMI, and that people who have been on unemployment or lost employment due to COVID are going to be our real focus.
Okay, Mr. Peter, before you answer, Mr. O'Brien, I would like to recognize you now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Who's going to say that the moratorium is lifted on this? Who's going to say that the pandemic is over? Is it going to be the governor's office, the county, the federal government?
Well, the federal government has one, and so does the governor's office. I mean, the executive office.
It just seems
I
that
don't
there's a
know
lot.
when that's going to happen.
Maybe it's me, but it just seems like there's answered questions out there by the members, and I just think we need a little bit more clarification, in my opinion, moving forward on this before we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay,
If I
thank
could
you.
jump in here. I mean, I think we agree. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I don't, but the money was announced. We applied for the funding. We got the funding. We assume that folks want to process it as quickly as possible. I mean, the very system that we will be beholden to process the applications isn't even going to go live until mid-February. So, I mean, the moral of the story is we don't have the answers to all the questions. So I'm not sure if that's a reason that we should.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
That
Mr. O'Brien.
Since we're not meaning to pass this, our legislative meeting is not until the 8th, so maybe we would have questions by then, and then we could vote on it that night to move it out of committee.
We need to move.
Okay, all right, so, okay, well, let's hold that thought just for a moment. I'm going to go back to Mr. Peter, but I just do have, one, it's not a question, but I would like a response to it. I'd like to know what the numbers have been as far as the increase to the county in regards to people needing housing assistance. Okay, so that, we could also get a better idea of how this is going to benefit the county. See if the numbers have gone up. We've been a year into this now, okay, to get an indication. I know the SNAP benefits have gone up, but I know the president too has done something in regards to, I guess how much the families are going to get. But I want to know, did the request for dollars, or housing assistance, did that increase over the past year? And I don't expect you to answer that tonight. I just want to put that out there. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Peter now, and then to Mr. Bergdorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for speaking out of turn before to both you and the commissioner. The first, I'm absolutely fine with moving this and passing this tonight, because to a certain point, it's free money, it's federal money. The regulations are still coming out, regardless of how this gets rolled out. It's going to help people in our communities. I know there's a lot of questions on it, but at the same time, that's federal funds, right? We're waiting for the guidance on that. But what I really want to get back to is something you said, Madam Chairwoman, which was about the 2-family homes, and I would hope the commissioner would take this under consideration. There's many people in 2-family homes. I speak on behalf of residents in the city of Albany with that, but often them being able to pay their mortgage, or even they're there to survive, is based on rent that they're currently potentially not able to collect. And so you have a double potential situation where they may not be at 50% AMI, but they may actually be more long-term in danger to foreclosure and things of that nature. Now, granted, I understand there's a foreclosure moratorium, but the fees and other things are getting back up at that. And I think what Ms. Willingham was sort of saying is that they're often in danger because their finances are dependent on that rent, including paying for expenses, and that may not go into their specific income requirement, things of that nature, since it's going right into the mortgage. And so being keen to that could very well stop a further problem down the line, and so should be looked at, compared to, and I understand it's based on renter compared to the larger scenario.
Thank you, Mr. Peter. Mr. Bergdorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple of questions. I too have no objection to passing this tonight because I think the ultimate goal is to get this money to landlords that need it. And I believe that there probably are a million details to work out, which I assume will be within the parameters of the federal guidelines that we've seen. However, I have a question. Who will actually be taking the applications, ranking them, and making the decisions? Because we saw with the COVID business grants, we had a third party that had some experience, that had run grant programs before. I didn't know if that was anticipated, number one. And number two, what I'd like to know is the entire $9 million going to be a benefit, or does the county take off 20% for administration? And so we're going to lose $1.8 million for administrative purposes, because I'd like to see all of this go to landlords. So I don't know, Commissioner, if you can respond to those questions.
Well, the allocation permits the municipality to take up to 10% in administrative costs. And I have to say that we will have some administrative costs. We are, as I said, going to be looking to potentially subcontract with some community organizations to help us get the word out and to help individuals apply for the funding. And there's going to be a lot of data entry pieces to this. There's reporting to the Treasury. So there could potentially be some administrative costs to the county. So that's for us to, I guess, look at and decide with the county exec's office. The piece.
No, I was just going to say that I do realize that there have been a lot of questions that have come up tonight. And taking into consideration Mr. O'Brien's suggestion, I also just received, indication from council that we can still move this out tonight and still get the answers that the members, are looking for. As many as are available, before the meeting on the 8th. Okay. There's a lot of great questions coming out tonight, and we do realize that we do want to take the money. There's no way we want to correct it. So we are going to do that. But I see that you have your hand up, Matt, but I just would like to pass along to Mr. McLaughlin and also to Mr. Riley and Mr. Clay that whatever responses you all can get back to us, we then in turn can give that information to the rest of the membership. Okay.
Yep, I'll circle back with staff, Madam Chair, and we'll compile just to get the list. And it's like anything, just so everybody knows, we may not even have the answers to the questions. It's going to take time as the commissioner is able to engage with both the state and the feds. God knows that when things come from the feds to the state, there's loss of translation, et cetera. So we'll get you the answers because you're going to be out, talking to people about the program. It only benefits us to do that. So that's fine.
Okay, great. And let us remember too that this money was also supposed to be used for utilities. So I do see Mr. O'Brien's hand up and Mr. Peter, and then we're going to move on this. Mr. O'Brien?
I was just going to make a motion to move this.
I was
Okay.
actually going to second his motion.
Okay, very good. So I got a motion from Mr. O'Brien, and I got a second from Mr. Peter. I hope I have not overlooked anyone as far as questions are concerned, so I can call for a vote.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. McClay, for indulging us tonight. And we'll just be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. All right. Okay, we're going to move on now. Ms. Kennedy, which one are we on right now?
Item 5, which is authorizing the refund of real property taxes in the town of Colony.
Okay, and that is Mr. McGuire? Is that you?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
very much.
Good evening, everybody. So Ron Monfils, the town assessor for Colony, has submitted an application to request a refund on behalf of the property owner. There was a water leak at the property, and there was an erroneous sewer charge associated with that water leak to the tune of $30,911.32. I've supplied supporting documentation that was provided to me by Mr. Monfils. There's a statement from the engineer within the water department of Colony indicating that there was a leak, that this water actually did not go into the sewer. It's an erroneous charge, and they're requesting a refund on behalf of the property owner.
Thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions? No questions. Can I get a motion?
Motion, Madam.
Motion from Mr. Peter. Where's my second?
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Clay. Okay, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 6 is the amount levied for unpaid water and sewer charges in the city of Cohoes.
Mr. DeLella, you're up?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. This is a yearly request made by the city of Cohoes to place unpaid water and sewer on their most current tax roll, which will be for 2/21 for the bills that come out in March of this year. This is passed in February, so it enables the tax bills to go out in March with everything approved.
Okay, any questions?
Motion to move, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce to move, Ray Joyce, and I got a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Number 7?
Item 7 is amounts levied for other charges for the city of Cohoes.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is a amount of other charges that are not taxes or water and sewer that are going to be placed on the 2021 tax roll in the city of Cohoes. And this resolution allows it to go on their warrant so they can collect it beginning March 1st of this year.
Thank you. No questions. Can I get a motion?
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I think I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're on to number 8. Ms. Kennedy?
Authorizing the levy upon the city of Cohoes property of the amount needed for various purposes.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is the amount of city taxes that are going to be placed on the 2021 tax roll to be collected by the city of Cohoes beginning March 1st of this year.
Any questions? If I have no questions, I'll accept a motion.
Motion, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter.
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. DeLella.
Thank you and good night.
Good night. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 9 is authorizing the conveyance of 76 3rd Street in the city of Albany.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Mike McLaughlin. I can speak to this one. The next two are transfers to Metropolitan Baptist Church. The first is 76 3rd Street. The second is 89 3rd Street. They're empty lots that the church has requested. Church has a very well publicized history of improving lots, using them for our own purposes, or turning them back into housing for folks in the community. So just asking for this transfer.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Peter?
I appreciate the county exec's office letting us know, on all these reports, no issues, code violations, et cetera, and anyone applying. Obviously, I had no fear with that with the church. So I'd like to make a motion to move this.
Madam Chair, I'd like to abstain from the vote on this.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. Your abstention will be noted. So
I'll
can I,
second Peter's motion.
okay, I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Mr. Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 10 is authorizing the conveyance of 89 3rd Street in the city of Albany.
I'd also like to make a motion for this, Madam Chair.
I got a motion from Mr. Peter.
Second.
I got a second from Ms. Lakakis. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, please mark me down as abstaining from the vote, please.
Okay, thank you. So noted. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 11 is authorizing the cancellation and chargeback of an unenforceable delinquent real property tax lien on 46 Gugus Road in the town of Bethlehem.
Is this Mr. McGuire? Whose TV is that? Someone needs to, can you mute yourself, please? Somebody.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is a correction to the 3-year time limit to use the ordinary correction process of errors as expired. Therefore, we're requesting you review the resolution. The town of Bethlehem discovered that a parcel was transferred to them back in 2015, but by mistake had left the ownership showing as a private owner. Therefore, there should not have been any taxes levied, but there were. So we're requesting that the Audit Finance Committee approve the resolution to deem these taxes, cancel them, and charge them back as unenforceable delinquent taxes.
Question, Madam Chair.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Am I reading this right? That what we're basically talking about is $9.50 a year?
Yes, sir. A total of $46.25 over the course of the last couple of years.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion.
I would like to second that.
I got clarification from Mr. Bergdorf. I got a motion from Ms. Lakakis and a second from Mr. Peter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed?
I almost called the question.
Okay.
Have a nice evening, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Ms. Kennedy?
Item 12 is authorizing the conveyance of various parcels of real property to the Albany County Land Bank Corporation.
And is this Mr. McLaughlin or Mr. McGuire?
Yeah, I can take it, Madam
Oh.
Chair. So yes, it's just, this was some cleanup, some properties that we had taken a while back. Looks like they missed the list. They're actually all open lots. They're unbuildable. They're off of Seminole Ave. I know their addresses say Seminole. They're sandwiched between 85 and I believe Tampa, but they have no value. And so, the land bank is certainly the best entity to deal with them.
Madam Chair,
Okay. Yes, thank you. Is that a motion, Mr. Peter?
that is Madam Chair.
Okay,
Second.
and I have a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Ms. Kennedy?
Item 13 is amending Resolution 494 for 2020 for a customer project commitment agreement with the New York Power Authority regarding the streetlight conversion project.
Madam Chair.
This is Luke Rogers. Rebecca, did you want me to speak to that?
Yes, please, go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
This is just I believe, a correction. I think there was a discrepancy between what was in the request and what ended up in the resolution of about $10,000. So just asking that be corrected.
Very good. All right, so now, is that a motion or a question?
That's a motion, Madam Chair, if there's no question.
Mr. Bergdorf?
Luke, last night, didn't we say we had already entered into the contract with the Power Authority?
Yeah, the error was discovered after the contract had been executed. So I think this is viewed as a cleanup.
Okay. So are we paying the Power Authority $10,000 more or?
No,
or less?
we are over the amount, I think the number that was in the resolution was 10,000 low. So theoretically, we're paying them more, but
Is that
Okay.
are you satisfied, Mr. Bergdorf?
Okay, so what do you have to do? Amend the power authority contract?
if that's necessary, we will. I'll certainly work with the county attorney on that.
Okay.
Are you good, Mr. Bergdorf?
Yeah, I just had to ask the question last night whether or not the contract was entered into and was told that it had been. So that's why I asked.
Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf. Mr. Joyce?
Yes, Madam Chair, please attention on this vote.
You went in and out. Say it
I'm
again.
sorry. Just please note my abstention on this vote.
So noted.
Thank you.
There are no other questions? I got a motion from Mr. Peter.
Second.
I got a second from Ms. Lakakis. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you so much. I believe that concludes our business for tonight. I just need a motion to adjourn. I want to thank everybody for their cooperation. Is that a motion from you, Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, it is, Madam Chair.
And I got my second. Thank you, everyone, so much tonight. And thank all of
Thank
those
you,
that
Madam
came.
Chair. Great meeting. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody stay warm.
Yeah,
Yes.
be careful.
Be safe.